Okay, I'm now putting my applicant hat back on. I have just received an email from SkillsMax inviting me to the SkillsMax portal to partake in 3 assessments that have been shared with me as part of the job application. Now, let's pause in the applicant's view for a moment as I revisit the assessments. Now, when you're creating a job, you can enable the assessments that you would like applicants to have access to. In this particular instance, we enabled all 3, but this is completely entirely up to yourselves and configurable. Alrighty, back to the applicant's view. Now, I've received that invitation. I've logged into the portal and I can see the 3 assessments that this particular recruiter would like me to undergo before I can move forward in that recruitment process. Let's dive on in and take a look at what these look like from an applicant's point of view. The first one I'm going to take is the psychometric assessment. So let's hop on in there and do that. The first thing that happens for an applicant once they click into a particular assessment is that it occupies their full screen view. So we can see here for the psychometric testing, I'm on one of 86 questions. Let's dive on in and kick that process off. Now, in this instance, applicants cannot be right or wrong. They're simply to answer the questions as per the way that they relate to them. Note that we will often ask the same question or a similar type of question in a different way. And this will eliminate the candidates just simply randomly selecting, as we'll start to ascertain whether the responses align with who they really are or if they're just something that they're simply clicking away at. And here we are now on the last question. Once you go ahead and complete the last question and hit submit, a little pop-up will be displayed to the applicant, just letting them know that they've finished, great job, and they can go back to the dashboard. Notice that we don't present results to the applicants or the potential candidates. The results, however, are visible by the hiring managers or the organization that created the job listing in the first place via their jobs portal. And I'll show you what that looks like when I take off my applicant hat at the end of these 3 assessments. Moving on now to the next one, we're going to dive into adaptive technical interviews. Now, before I kick this off, I do want to state that I'm not an engineer. And so for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm just going to dive on in and show you what the applicant experiences without spending, obviously, too much time on answering those questions correctly. Okay, here we go. We're going to dive on into the adaptive technical interview. Now, what role am I interviewing for as an applicant? I'm going to go ahead and select that. In this particular instance, it is for a full stack engineering role. So we'll go with software engineer. It's asking you about your levels of experience. So applicant can go ahead and select that. We'll say 2 to 4. And skills. So I can go ahead and select the skills that I have an understanding of. You can see we break that down across languages, front end, back end, databases, there's architecture and design, and then looking at core skills as well. Alrighty, I'll go ahead and hit confirm. They're going to review and start the assessment. You can see that there is a duration of 45 to 60 minutes for the assessment, and different questions reset the timer at a different estimated length that we feel is an appropriate time to allow applicants to answer these questions. Please note again, similar to what you saw with the last assessment, this does go into full screen view, and we do disable functionalities such as copying and paste from external sources. So it really is reliant on the applicant there contributing their own responses during this assessment period. Again, each question is timed And so once timed out, there is no ability to go back to attempt to re-answer that question. Let's kick things off. Now, the adaptive technical interview kicks off with a video. So you have an opportunity to answer a question, record yourself and submit that. And then we go into questions following. So you can see there's a time that's already kicked off there. We want them to get in, not think too much about it, and answer the question. Here we go. Okay, so I've been a full stack engineer for 3 to 4 years now. I've worked on a number of projects across a number of customers. Uh, Now, what's ended, we can go ahead and retry. Note, of course, that that timer is ticking away, so you don't have much of an opportunity to retry if you want. And again, all aimed at ensuring that the applicant responds with whatever is coming to mind. So we're not able to go ahead and research, read, respond. It's about catching them in that ideal moment with a natural response. I'll go ahead and submit that. We won't retry. And you can see now that what we're doing is the analysis process. So please wait while that is being processed and then submit it. Alrighty, you can see that once that is done, again, we're not presenting the results to the applicant, but those results are being taken, collected, and they're going to be presented within the jobs portal. You can see we dive straight on in now to the actual technical interview component. That time has started ticking away. There's a question here that's asked of me. Now, please remember, I'm not an engineer. I'm just going to go ahead and type some copy in and then hit submit just in order to demonstrate what this experience looks like from an applicant's point of view. Awesome. Let's hit submit. Alrighty, you can see that that first question there was a coding question, so reliant on me responding in code. And there are also some multiple choice questions in and amongst that. So here we go. For those of you who are engineers in the room, please feel free to giggle at no doubt all of my incorrect responses, but again, just walking you through the process here. Now, the adaptive technical component ensures that these questions are randomized. We present a mix of questions that are tailored to that individual's skill set. So these questions will shift and change based on this particular applicant's understanding of what's been asked of them. If they demonstrate a very clear and strong understanding of the questions, then this may be a shorter technical interview. If it feels like we're not quite getting to the core and the crux of what we need, we'll continue to ask questions, but in a different way. And again, you can see here mix in additional video and spoken responses. So to try and get a little bit more of an understanding as to where their skill set actually lies, and if it aligns with the skills that you are looking for this particular job. Now, mind you, all of this is being done without the need to pick up the phone and have a conversation. Now, I'm going to go ahead and end this session so that I can spare you watching me fumble my way through, but nonetheless, where I'm at will be presented in that jobs dashboard. Your submission has been recorded. I can now go back to the dashboard. Once again, we're not displaying any results because this isn't about testing that individual on the spot and providing them the immediate feedback. It's essentially replacing the need to have that first round face-to-face interview where a lot of these questions may be asked of that particular candidate. So this allows you to get a sense of where they truly sit and if their skills do align to the skills that you're after. Now, this last item here is AI-powered communication. So we're going to dive on in. Similar to what you would have seen with the previous ATI assessment, this is a screen recorded session. And so it allows people the opportunity to answer a question that's been presented to them, record themselves speaking, and then hit submit. You can see that there are upwards of 10 questions here. This can be tailored and customized, of course, so we can reduce that number of questions and focus more so on communication skills rather than also including some of those HR-related questions that you may ask within an interview process. That's entirely up to yourselves and can be configurable per different job as well. So let's go here with the first question and first recording. I feel that the social media complaints should be managed by the team directly with transparency and yet also with very sensitive language. So once I'm happy with what I've got, I can go ahead and hit send. Now, unlike with the ATI, you'll notice there's no clock ticking away. Now, we can set a time requirement to this particular module. In this instance, we're allowing the communication module to just take its time and its natural course. Once again, the AI is doing an analysis of that recorded message and will go ahead and produce an output shortly. Now, similar to what you saw with the last assessment, the results are presented to the applicant. You can see that we're now able to move on to question 2 and beyond. And again, the results will be shared via the jobs portal. Alrighty, I'm going to go ahead and leave this particular assessment because I'm going to spare you watching me fumble my way through 10 questions for the purposes of this demonstration. But there you have it. This will take the applicant back to the dashboard. Of course, if they didn't finish something, they can go back and finish it. Once submitted and all the time runs out for that particular assessment, that is it. And those results will be shared with the HR managers, the recruiters, and the company that created that job listing in the first place. So we will take off our applicant hat, pop on our HR hat again, and I will show you what that looks like within the jobs portal now. Alrighty. Once we're back into the jobs portal, we can now see what some of those results are starting to look like as they start to come in, completed or not. So I'm going to head on over to my job and find that particular individual who just partook in some of those exercises. Here we go. We can dive on in down to results. Now you can see the results for the adaptive technical interview, not suitable as I suspected and I shouldn't be. If we have a look down here, we can dive into some of the responses. So it'll let you know what was skipped. If it were, it will also let you know exactly what was selected and what the correct answer was. So really diving deep into those responses. Now I didn't do any more than that at this particular time, didn't quite finish, but you can see it's still going to present some of those responses. What I did finish, however, was the psychometric assessment. So that's going to give you an overview summary of this particular person and their fit personality-wise for this particular role. So it'll dive into the strengths and then some of the areas for improvement. So identifying that for you as well. Now, again, there's no right and wrong here, but this is just a really nice, solid way to round out an understanding of the type of individual that may be joining the team. And then had I completed the corporate communication skills, there would be some results there, but nothing at present. And you can see here it says pending as the applicant's final submission for all 3 assessments is in fact pending. That gives you a little bit of a deep dive view. Now you can go ahead and export that data and that will be sent to you via email and shared via a CSV format as well. I hope that's been helpful. That shows you there the end-to-end journey, taking into account the applicant's experience as well in that process. Thank you for joining me. Bye.